Giving online is quick, easy, and secure. Here's how. Go to riveroflifeindy.org and select Give Now. Enter in your first, last name, and email address. Next, select where you would like to give. Tithes and offering, the Benevolence Fund, or our church expansion. Enter in your card information and submit. Thank you for your contribution to the River of Life Church family. Giving online is quick, easy, and secure. Here's how. Go to riveroflifeindy.org and select Give Now. Enter in your first, last name, and email address. Next, select where you would like to give. Tithes and offering, the Benevolence Fund, or our church expansion. Enter in your card information and submit. Thank you for your contribution to the River of Life Church family.
You are an amazing God, and we honor you. Will you honor him with us? You're amazing.
You're amazing.
You're amazing.
You're amazing.
You're amazing.
You're amazing.
So amazing.
So amazing.
You're 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 so amazing.
So amazing.
You cause the sun and moon to shine. I'm so glad you're mine. Oh, I'm so glad you're mine.
Say we stand in awe of you. Say amazed at the things you do. Somebody say you're holy. Worthy is the man. adoration unto you. You reign on the throne, for you are God and God alone. Because of you, my cloudy days are gone. I can sing to you this song. I just want to say that I love you more than anything. I lift my hands in total adoration unto you. You reign on the throne, for you are God and God alone. Because of you, my cloudy days are gone. I can sing to you this song. I just want to say that I love you more than anything. Love me in your arms. You are my shelter from the storm. When all my friends were gone, you were right there all alone. I never knew a love like this before. I just want to say that I love you more than anything. I love you, Jesus. I worship and adore you. Just want to tell you, Lord, I love you more than anything. I love you, Jesus. I worship and adore you. Just want to tell you, Lord, I love you more than anything. I love you, Jesus. I worship and adore you. Just want to tell you, Lord, I love you more than anything. I love you, Jesus. I worship and adore you. Just want to tell you, Lord, I love you more than anything. I love you, Jesus. I worship and adore you. Just want to tell you, Lord, I love you more than anything.
Oh, yes, Lord. We give you all the praise, all the honor. We love you. For only you, Lord, deserve all the praise. You deserve our hearts, our mind, our body, our strength. Love you more than anything.
Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us for our online service. We hope that you will continue to meet us right here every Sunday at 1 p.m. and every Tuesday at 7 p.m. We're going to continue with our online services until God says otherwise. So we hope that you continue to prepare your hearts to meet us here every Sunday at 1 and every Tuesday at 7 p.m. We also invite you to follow us on all of our social medias: Facebook, River of Life Church of Indianapolis, Inc., Instagram at River of Life Indy, our YouTube page, ROLC Indy, and our Twitter at ROL Church Indy. We invite you to join Darlene for Kingdom Thinking on the first Saturdays of every month. We also invite you to join the phenomenal women of ROLC on the second Saturdays at 10 a.m. for their virtual fellowship and breakfast. The women had a wonderful time last week. So join us. Come on, ladies, join the phenomenal women of ROLC on the second Saturdays at 10 a.m. Men, we invite you to join Pastor Robert on the fourth Saturdays of every month for his Equipping Kingdom Disciples podcast. Let me tell you, you'll learn so much from those 4 to 6 minutes, a word of God from Pastor Treadwell. Hey, do you like what we're doing here at River of Life Church? You want to become a member? Then head over to our website at riveroflifeindy.org. and click on the membership button. We'll be in touch with you to tell you exactly what you need to do to become a member here at River of Life Church. We'd love to have you as our brother, as our sister in the Lord, working side by side for the kingdom of God. Speaking of the kingdom, if you would love to sow a seed into this ministry so that we can continue to do what God has called us to do, which is equipping kingdom disciples, which is reaching out to the community, which is continuing with our online services. If God leads you to give to this ministry, there are 2 ways that you can give. First, head over to our website and click the give button. Second, if you're still one of those persons who like to write checks, hey, you can send that to 10021 Fountain Springs Circle, Indianapolis, Indiana, 46236. Those are all of your announcements for today. Thank you so much again for joining us. Now, back to our service.
Giving online is quick, easy, and secure. Here's how. Go to riveroflifeindy.org and select Give Now. Enter in your first, last name, and email address. Next, select where you would like to give. Tithes and offering, the Benevolence Fund, or our church expansion. Enter in your card information and submit. Thank you for your contribution to the River of Life Church family.
hello, everyone, ROLC family and friends. We thank you for tuning in. I'm Pastor Robert. I just wanted to make sure that before we get started with what we want to present to you, that everybody is aware that we are in the crutch of the political season. I am encouraging you to vote, vote, vote. The program that we want to present to you is like many other programs that we want to share with River of Life Church family, and that is to communicate how we ought to respond, how we ought to act in the marketplace. And when we deal with how we as citizens, dual citizens, one of the Kingdom of God and one of the United States of America, we need to understand how do we respond, how do we act, how do we engage in this political season. So I want you to sit back. I want you to relax. I want you to get paper and pen. I want you to be informed. We're going to have a discussion about the candidates, about the election. And yes, in this particular season, it's going to be a little one-sided. And that is on purpose. But I want you to be prepared for what is to come. So sit back and stay tuned.
Thank you for joining me today. My name is Isaiah Treadwell, and I have the pleasure of speaking with a voting rights, politics expert in Chris Taylor. I'm going to read a quick bio, and then we're going to have him join the call, and we'll join in a conversation. Chris Taylor is the Democratic strategist that has worked on racial and social justice issues, from environmental justice to health justice and criminal justice issues like the death penalty. He supported communications on state legislative campaigns and ballot measures. During the 2020 election cycle, he's lent his time to presidential campaigns and currently advises Democrats running for Congress. A Ball State CCIM alum, Chris was born and raised in the Chicagoland area. His favorite pastime is lockdown safe, cooking dinner at home. It's quarantine. Everyone, please welcome Chris Taylor.
How you doing, brother?
Good, good. How are you?
I'm well.
Good. We're going to go ahead and just jump right in. We're going to start from the basic and then work our way up to the top. So we're talking about voting. This year is the presidential campaign. A lot of stakes are on this presidential campaign. So for those that are new to voting, for those that have never voted, how do we register to vote? And two, if we are, how do we even check those statuses to make sure that we are registered?
Yep. So a couple of really important things to put up top, but the most important question is, how do you register? iwillvote.org, vote.org are great resources that will direct you to where to vote in your jurisdiction. So if you're, you know, and I'm talking to folks in Indianapolis today, if we're in Marion County or we're in surrounding areas, vote.org, iwillvote.org. Either one of those sites will direct you exactly to the resource that you need to access in your area to make sure you're registered to vote in the right place and prepared for election day. Now, the other thing you mentioned, and I think it's important to mention, is this is a presidential election year, and there is a lot at stake, but there's so much more than that on the ballot as well, Isaiah, from state level races. And I, you know, we should take a look at what's on the ballot in Indiana this year, but certainly congressional races at the federal level, state house races, local leaders, those police chiefs and prosecutors we've been talking about all summer, local judges. And so we have to make sure that we know what's on the ballot from the very top to the very bottom, because all of those offices are really important and have a direct impact on our community.
So we checked our status, we registered to vote. Is there anything that we must have at the station as we're casting our ballots, or are we free to just walk in and just vote?
Sure. Excellent question. So in the state of Indiana, you want to have a valid ID photo ID with you when you go and vote. You're going to need that. You're going to need that if you vote early in person. You're going to need it if you vote on election day. And so we should talk about some of the ways you can do that. You know, from in the state of Indiana, from October 6th to November 2nd, so almost a full month, all registered voters in Indiana are eligible to vote early in person. So you take your photo ID to your polling location, which you can find also online, and all you need is your ID with you. You're ready to go in and vote. You're able to avoid what we know can be long lines in election day. What we know in the Midwest, November could be a balmy 90 degrees, or it could be negative 90 feeling. So we want to make sure that if we have an opportunity to vote early, especially this year, you know, we're in the middle of a pandemic that has hit our communities really hard. And so to be able to do it with fewer people around, to do it with your mask on, voting early in person is an excellent option. We got a lot of time to be able to do that. And you can find that polling location. Again, iVote.org or vote.org will direct you to your local website to make sure you're going to the right place to do that. It might not be the same as your election day polling place. Really important to know.
Yeah, awesome. You brought up a really good topic in your last answer. And, you know, let's say, you know, I've never voted before. I'm 18 years old. This is my first time voting. And I get to the voting ballot and I see all these names that I don't know. I don't know who the judge, who's running. I don't know who's running for Congress. All I know is, hey, I'm either Republican or I'm either Democratic. I'm gonna just say Republican, 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 or Democratic, Democratic, Democratic. Yeah. How do I, you know who's on there? How do I do research on that so that I can know exactly who I'm voting for? Because I mean, a lot of times when you are Democratic, you're just going to vote Democrat, or if you are red, you're going to vote red. So yeah. How do I know who's on that ballot, and how can I do some research on that?
Yeah. Well, as a Democrat, I'm going to tell you, go straight down the line. No, look, I want you to be informed. I want you to be an informed voter. And I tell people all the time, I think and this has happened to me a million times. I've been working in politics since I graduated from school and was volunteering and all that stuff before then. The worst feeling in the world is to get into the voting booth, be all by yourself, and feel really dumb because you don't know what's on the ballot, what is a recorder of deeds, what do they even do? And so you don't have to be in that position. You are able from your county, and it's different in every jurisdiction, so I don't want to give out a specific date, but if you're in Marion County, Google Marion County Board of Elections, look for your sample ballot in your district, in your ward, in your area, and you can actually preview what's going to be on the ballot so that you can go do research about the positions that maybe you don't know about, or maybe there are judges on there that you want to ask some more questions about. Maybe you want to visit their Facebook pages and campaign websites. So make sure that you get access, and I'll share some links with you after this to help direct folks to that. But take a look at that sample ballot. You'll know what's on it. And, you know, one of the things that I do is I'll get my sample ballot before Election Day, and I'll mark next to that sample ballot who I want, who I'm going to vote for. So when I get into the polling booth, I'm copy pasting, you know, going and putting these things in. And that's a really, I think, smart way to feel prepared going in. And to your point, to know what you're voting for, right? You know, we've spent a summer, and rightfully so, in the streets protesting, talking about police violence against Black Americans. And there are prosecutors on the ballot, and they're all the way down at the bottom. And there are judges on the ballot, and they're all the way down at the bottom. And so we have to make sure that when we vote this October, if we do it early, or this November, that we go all the way down the ballot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so, you know, with the pandemic going on, there's a lot of talk. There's a lot of already things happening with, you know, mail-in ballots and the decrease of that, stopping that altogether. What is your suggestion on those that rely on sending in those ballots via mail or even absentee ballots? What is your suggestion?
Look, I think Michelle Obama said it, First Lady Obama said it very clearly and very well just a few days ago at the convention, and that is request your mail-in ballot today. And as soon as you get it, send it back, because there is an effort, and frankly, it's a Republican voter suppression effort to curtail access to mail-in voting and to block the vote. Frankly, it's, you know, I'm speaking with a partisan lens here, but there is a party that has decided they don't have an agenda for all of America, and so they're going to limit who has access to the ballot. So if you feel that you must vote by mail, or, you know, in my case, I'm thinking about grandparents and older aunts and uncles who really need to vote by mail, make sure they've requested their ballot. Make sure they've filled it out and get that thing back in the mail as soon as possible. Don't wait to the last minute. This is not an election where our voices can be silenced, or we can miss out on participating in the process. And if you are able, and if you feel safe and comfortable, go vote early. There's a large early voting window in Indiana, and we're really lucky to have that in Indiana. So put on a mask, you know, pick a day and go do it. The other reason why I tell people, Isaiah, to vote early is, you know, election day comes, it's snowing, maybe you don't drive and it takes a bus and a car, or a bus and a train to get there, or you end up having to work a double and you miss out. We just can't afford that this year. In 2016, and I forget what state it was in exactly, but it was 2 votes per precinct where we lost. I believe it was the state of Wisconsin, but 2 votes per precinct where we lost. That's somebody who was working a double. That's somebody who just couldn't make it. And so we have to make sure we all make it to the polls in whatever form it is. If it's by mail, if it's early before election day, or if it's on election day itself. Let's have a voting plan this November.
Awesome. And I'm going to ask you a general question that, you know, we all should know, but for those who probably don't, because, you know, oftentimes when we're gathering, someone says, oh, I'm not voting, or I don't vote, or, you know, I don't like the candidates that's on the ballot, so I'm not going to vote anyways, which was a huge reason at last election. So why is it important to vote, 1? And 2, why is it important for Black people to vote, or people of color to vote?
Yeah. Look, you know, if you say that you're not voting around me, you're going to spend a lot of time with me. And I want other people to feel the same way and keep that same energy, right? Look, the stakes are high in this election. And certainly I understand people feeling frustrated or feeling unheard. You know, this is a silly analogy, but I'll explain it this way. You know, these candidates at the top of the ticket, we'll talk about the presidential election for a second. The candidates at the top of the ticket, think of them as a bus. Mm-hmm. One bus is taking us towards repealing the Affordable Care Act. It's taking us toward silly things like Muslim bans, if we remember that in 2018. It's taking us towards these crazy tweets that don't serve anybody. And it's taking us further towards a pandemic that still hasn't been addressed in the United States, the only developed country in the world that hasn't addressed this crisis. And there's also a bus that is about tested and true leadership that brought us the Affordable Care Act, that I believe that created the pandemic office in the White House that this president dismantled, and that I think could deal with the crisis we have at hand. And so much of politics, sometimes we're not always going to be, you know, exuberantly excited about candidates for any office. Again, we have to remember, you know, my grandmother says, if you're looking for Jesus, go to church, right? These are people running for public office. And so let's choose the candidate or the bus that's going in the direction of travel we want to go. And then let's hold them accountable. This is not, you know, our duty's not done on election day. We've got to stay in there, you know, foots on necks, as we say, on social media now, and like continue to be holding these leaders accountable. But beyond that, again, there's more on the ballot than just the president. And these local offices, the folks that are sitting on your school board that are making a decision about whether or not your kids are going to go back to school, whether or not the school is going to be safe enough for them to be there, those people are on the ballot. And so we have to make sure we're showing up to make decisions about every area of our community. Awesome.
I'm going to switch gears because I think it's cool that you had a great experience this summer and just earlier this year with assisting an individual who was running for president this year.
Yeah.
I don't know how much you can speak on it, but can you just explain what your experiences was and how it helped you and just, you know, just the good things about it this year?
Yeah, yeah. So my background, Isaiah is working in the communications department of political organizations, or working as a communications consultant to political organizations. I was living in California, sunny SoCal, and at the time, earlier last year, now 2019. And I've always been a huge fan of Senator Kamala Harris. She won her election the same day that Donald Trump won the presidency in 2016. And so, you know, she was one of the bright spots for me that year. And I continued to kind of follow her career and follow her work, and just found her very inspiring. I took some time away from work to join her campaign on a contract basis, doing basically what's called advance work. Advance work is simple in that you're going in advance of the candidate. You're making sure that the visuals for press make sense. You're making sure that the crowd accessibility is there for people with different levels of ability. You're making sure the candidate has what they need on the ground to do that event. Because in normal times, you know, a candidate's going from city to city to city in a matter of a day. You know, you might hit 2 or 3 states in a day. And so this ground team is really going to deal with those logistics on the ground. And so it was something that I really wanted to do, because I felt like, you know, doing this work, this was an election we could sit out. This was not an election where I could only be on Twitter ranting and complaining and you know, so I really wanted to jump in. And so I jumped in that capacity and had a great time. I had a lot of fun. And I'm so glad that Vice President Biden decided to put a Black woman on his ticket. And they're going to go to the White House together and make history again. So I'm excited about that. And it's kind of, you know, it's in some ways it's poetic justice, right? Because he played VP to the first Black president. And so, you know, so much of that for me, I think, is a reminder, and all the darkness we've experienced in the last couple of years, and all of the kind of hatred and racism that's bubbled back up. This is still a good country. This is still a country of good people. And we can return to displaying those values more prominently.
So there's a lot of, you know, misinformation about candidates. I mean, you have your CNNs, your MSNBCs, your Fox News, and, you know, they share what they want to share about each candidate. What are some websites, or do you know of any resources that we can go to as voters to gain a little bit more knowledge about, you know, the presidential, vice presidential candidates, and, you know, just so we just have a clearer understanding on who we're voting for, and we're not thinking about what they've done in the past to hurt a specific group or anything like that?
Sure. Look, I think doing your due diligence is very important. You know, you are hiring somebody for a job. And so let's do a background check. I happen to think that CNN, NBC, and ABC, and CBS, those are New York Times and Washington Post, those are reliable news sources. And look, if you're reading about the United States Postal Service, read that story in a few places. You know, watch it on TV, read something, listen on the radio, and you'll be able to come up with some reasoning that I think makes sense for most people about where you stand on an issue, right? Hear from a few different sources. Everybody has their way of approaching talking about facts. But get down to the facts. I think the other thing to remember, especially Isaiah, for our generation, is that, like, I love the shade room. The shade room is not necessarily doing its own reporting, and neither is your like homie on Instagram necessarily, right? Like, I have friends that post things all the time that are just like not true or partially true, and so it's hard to distinguish. Or like post things and say like, is this true? Like, that's not helpful either, right? So I think when it comes to social media, there are a couple of things to remember. The Senate Intelligence Committee last year, if it wasn't this year, released a report that detailed how Russia played a role in infiltrating our elections in 2016. Disinformation campaigns where bots that are made to look like they're from different groups spin out rumors about candidates, spin out rumors about on both sides in an effort to dissuade people from participating or to stir up angst. And guess what their number one and most effective strategy was? Talking about Black-white relations in the United States. So we have foreign adversaries using social media to tap on our Achilles heel and to suppress the Black vote and to stop us from participating in elections. And we know what kind of forces and what kind of people that benefits. And so I just think we have to be very careful about where we're getting our information from, because, you know, something can start somewhere on social media, and before you know it, you know, your well-intentioned best friend is posting it, but it might not have any truth to it. And so we just need to be really thoughtful about where we get information and be vigilant. But I think also understand that our vote is under attack. Our voices making decisions about what happens in our country is under attack by folks outside of it and by folks in it. And so that should be inspiration enough to know that you need to participate in the process, and probably don't want to support the people who are trying to stop you from voting.
Awesome. I'm going to ask for Pastor Robert to jump on the line. We're going to ask a couple of questions just about just, you know, the church in politics and kind of, you know, how we can get involved. So.
Oh, my mama's not watching.
How you doing, Pastor Robert?
All right. How are you doing?
Good, good, good. Simple question.
Good morning, Pastor.
Good morning.
Simple question, or not simple, I guess, but you know, a lot of the church, we don't want to speak too much on politics because that can start, you know, just an array of issues. What is your stance on the church in politics, and how can the church be involved in it without taking it one way or the other?
Well, a good question. And first of all, let me just say that the church adopts what was socially the norm. In the Black community, many Blacks historically did not talk about politics because when you talk about where you were going or how you were going to vote, that might have brought some oppression upon yourself or your family. And so in that was adopted by the church not dealing with those issues. But the church also needs to understand where the scriptures come from, where the scriptures talk about when it deals with who do you honor, render unto Caesar that which is Caesar's, and render unto the Lord that which is the Lord. When you deal with John, John's gospel goes on to say, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. But then when you follow down to verse 14 of that particular chapter, it goes on to share that and he dwelt among us. So the church needs to understand that we hold dual citizenship. We are members of the kingdom of Jesus Christ, but we're also members of whatever we are citizens. And in this country, we're citizens of the United States of America. So in doing so, the church needs to understand that we need to be knowledgeable, not only about our heavenly citizenship, but we need to be knowledgeable about the marketplace as well. And when we're in the marketplace, we need to act accordingly. We need to understand, as I was listening to earlier, understand who are the candidates, understand what the issues are, understand how do we go about involving ourselves in the marketplace when it comes to voting. It's so funny, as I was listening to the conversation earlier, that even for myself, I remember a time when I spoke about who I was voting for and why I was voting for this particular candidate. I'm a business owner, not only a pastor, but I'm a business owner. And as a business owner, there are certain candidates that work better for my business than other candidates. And so I have to be knowledgeable of how do I continue as a business owner, a minority business owner, to facilitate this business in this world. And so I have to not only put on both dual hats to weigh and judge moral values, but I have to also weigh and judge what is going to be economically sound for me and my business as well. And so that's what I believe that the church needs to become involved in understanding. How do we participate in the voting arena, in our politics, in the marketplace areas?
Awesome.
I think that's absolutely right. And I think what's so important, and Isaiah, you touched on this a little bit earlier about, if you're going to vote for Democrats or Republicans or whomever, it really is about a balance of your values, your interests, and your issues. And so I think, the pastor makes an excellent point, and that's why it's so important to know what's on your ballot and to go do that research, because it'll get you to a place of making decisions that are aligned in that space and that are good, for our community. And I'm never going to, I work for the Democratic Party, but I'm never going to tell you that, there's one party that's going to answer all of our questions. We live in a democracy, and when it functions, the exchange of ideas and thoughts is healthy and good for us. And so I just think it's so important, the points that you made there, Pastor, to really find the balance of your issues and interests and values and vote accordingly.
Definitely. I just want to, again, piggyback on almost the same question. I know you guys answered a little bit, but as a church, we're supposed to have a mindset of living Christ-like. And there are folks on the ballot with a lack thereof. But we still see members of the church voting for that particular person, candidate, whatever. So, Pastor, if you can, speak on it first, and then I'll jump to Chris. As Christians, or whatever religion that has, those good morals and values, how do we make sure that we're sticking to that stance and who we vote for, and how, so let's say, am I, who votes against that person, supposed to treat that person in the church who clearly is on the different side of those values?
Very good question. Again, we have dual citizenship. And one of the things that I had said when back in the 2000s, I openly and shared with everybody that I voted for Al Gore. Previous to that, I did not vote Democrat. I voted independent. And so in saying that, I said all that to say, I was from the church accused of not voting with my faith in mind. And I said that to say this, there is no political party that holds all of the Christian values that we are to embrace. So we need to understand, how do we vote morally? How do we vote with a conscience, allowing us to maintain that membership, our kingdom membership, and our being members of the United States of America. And we need to make sure that we understand, to the best of our knowledge, who the candidates are. And then I truly believe that as members of the body of Jesus Christ, we just need to ask the Lord, how should we vote, and vote accordingly. Now, we're going to differ. That's what makes up the great thing about the Church of Jesus Christ. There are many people, many different kinds of people in the church, just like in our nation. As I've seen at the Democratic Convention this past week, there are many different kinds of people in our nation. We are a nation of immigrants, unless you are Native American Indians. But besides that, that's what's the great thing. We get to see different faces, different peoples, different cultures, and we should be able to communicate, talk, embrace one another in our differences. When we start trying to make people cookie cutter Christians or Americans, we are going to miss out on the greatness of our differences. I say this, and I'm going to conclude with this thought. When we get to heaven and we start seeing the different faces that are in heaven, I would hope that would not be the first time we would have embraced that idea. I would hope that we would start embracing the idea of our differences now. So if you vote for somebody that I would not have voted for, I need to give you the benefit and say, all right, You voted for that individual. That's something I would not have done. Okay, let's continue moving on. The scriptures share with us that those who are in authority, we ought to be praying for. And so I challenge believers all the time. We work our way all the way up to election day. We vote, we do our part. Whoever is placed in the positions that they are placed, they're in our positions of authority. Now we pray for them. And then we come back to the year in which we need to start working out and advancing the cause for a particular political candidate. Then we do that. And then if that candidate that we did not vote for again gets into to those positions, we once again start praying for them. And that what makes us different as citizens that have this dual citizenship. That makes us different than those who aren't part of this dual citizenship.
Awesome. Well, I want to thank the both of you all for participating in this conversation. I want to thank you in particular, Chris, for taking the time out of your day to speak to us, the church family. I really appreciate what you do and how you do it. As a politician and as a Black man in America. So thank you. For anyone else, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to comment below. Shoot us an email at info@riveroflifeindy.com. And we hope to see you again next week. Thank you.
Can I leave you with two things?
Yeah, go ahead.
Two things. So one, resources, iwillvote.org, morethanavote.org, vote.org, all excellent resources to figure out how to register and find information in your area about voting in 2020. And then again, just another thank you to you all. What the church, in my opinion, should be doing is things like this, sharing information, making sure people are informed, and making sure people participate in the process. So I'm grateful that you're doing it and hope to see y'all soon in person.
Awesome. Thank you, folks. Bye.
Thank you.
You have been listening to Pastor Robert Treadwell of River of Life Church of Indianapolis, Incorporated. For more information about our church and to listen to other messages by Pastor Robert, visit River of Life's website at www.riveroflifeindy.org or subscribe to our YouTube channel at ROLC Indy. To stay connected with the life of this ministry, please follow us on social media at River of Life Church of Indianapolis on Facebook. On Twitter, join us at ROL Church Indy, and on Instagram at River of Life Indy.